here we have a group of tests within the test tag. Okay, so there are two classes added under this. So likewise, we can have so many classes here, and all are grouped under the test tag. Now, suppose we want to do something before executing any test within this group or collection of tests. In that case, we can use @before test annotation. So we write a method and we annotate it with @before test. So that particular method will be executed before executing any of the tests within this test collection, right? All right, so where do we write that method? We can write it in any of the classes, maybe any of these classes, or we can write it in the test base class, because these are derived from the test base class. Right, so let's implement it within the test base class and then we will check it out. Let's go to test base and let's implement a method @before test. Okay, let's do that first. So here I'm gonna implement before test method and let me annotate it with @before test. Okay, so and let's change this one as well, the print statement, so that we can identify this before test. So likewise, there is a @after test method. So what do we do in the after test? After executing everything within this particular group of this test annotation, that @after test method will be executed. So let's implement an after test method as well. Here also the name is not relevant. You can give any name for this. The important thing is that you have to annotate it with @after test. And let's have a println statement after test in this. Okay, so now this after test method will be executed after executing all of the tests within this collection of classes, within this group of tests. Okay, let us execute it and see the results. So let's right click, test hit, and run all the tests. So here you can see the very beginning we have before test executed, and then everything else good executed, and let's go to the end. So here we have after test. Okay, so now here we have only one test annotation group, right? So we can have more than one test tags within a suite. Okay, so what could be one possible situation? Suppose this could be a UI test. Okay, we have Selenium tests. Assume that these are Selenium tests, and we are planning to execute these tests with Chrome browser. Okay, so maybe let's write Chrome tests. Okay, and after this we need to execute all of these tests in some other browser, say Edge, Microsoft Edge. So how do we do that? We'll create one more test tag, and here let us name it as Edge. So we have Chrome test, and then after that Edge test. Okay, so now we have two groups, right? Two test tags. So let's execute and see the results very quickly. In fact, this is the concept of cross-browser testing, right? So you execute all your tests with one browser first and then another browser, right? So here you can see, before test for the first test annotation, for the first test tag, and you can see an after test as well, and then from the second test tag, you have before test, and executing everything you get after test as well. Okay, but how do we configure the browser? So the intention is like, for this particular test annotation, there has to be a before test method. There we have to configure the browser corresponding to Chrome, and here in this we have to configure. So when you execute, when the before test method is executed, the browser has to be configured as Edge. So we have to pass some value to the method, right? So then only we will be able to configure. So for passing that, we can give a parameter here. So let's include a parameter tag here, and we can pass a name and a value for the parameter. So for the name, let's write browser. So this is going to be the parameter name or the variable name, and here the value, let's pass it as Chrome, right? And the similar thing we can do here as well for the Edge, right? Here we can pass a parameter named browser, and let's change the value as Edge. Okay, so it's giving a suggestion like, let's see what the suggestion is. XML tag has empty body, doesn't have anything within these tags, right? So this is the opening tag and closing tag, and we don't have anything in the body, right? So for example, for this classes, there is an opening tag and this is the closing tag, right? So within this we have something, so we have some body for this, but for this particular tag we don't need to have any body, because we just need to define a parameter name and the value for that. So in that case, let us, instead of having opening and closing tags, we can have just one tag. So it is giving a suggestion, so we can maybe change it according to this. Collapse empty tag, yeah, let's select it. So now see the change. So it is taken as the opening as well as the closing within one particular tag. So at the end there is a slash. Okay, so likewise we can do this one as well. So it is shorter. Okay, let's make it like this. All right, so now we are passing a parameter here, the value, the name and value, but we need to receive it, right? So let's see how we can receive it. Let's go into test base, and within this before test, now we have to receive it and then we have to use it. So how do we receive it? We have an annotation at the right parameters, and within this we can receive a set of parameters. So we need to specify the value here. Okay, so what is the name of the parameter? So not the value, the name of the parameter. So the name that we specified is browser. Okay, so here let's go into this test.xml. Here the name that we used is browser. So we have to use the same name here, browser. So this parameter will be accepted here. And if you have more than one parameter defined here with different parameter tags, then you can have multiple parameter names here. Okay, but since we have only one, because it's a set, okay, since we have only one, yeah, we're just specifying that one here. Now we need to receive the value into a variable, right? So we can have one variable here, so it's a string value that we are passing, so we can define a variable here as a parameter to this method. So now when this method is executed, before test is executed, whatever value we specify here, in this case Chrome, it is passed to this particular variable and it's available within this method. And using that, when you configure the browser in Selenium, you will be able to configure it. Okay, so maybe you'll have a switch statement or an if statement, and you check the value, and based on that you decide which browser has to be configured. For the simplicity, since we are focusing only on the testng here, we can just print the browser value here. Okay, so we will print the name of the browser here, and so what happens is, when this set is executed, Chrome will be passed and all the tests will be executed. Okay, and in this case, for the second set, edge will be passed, right? And all these tests will be executed. Now let's execute it and see the results. Okay, let's right click on test suite and run the test, and let's see the results. So here, let's see in the beginning, see before test Chrome. So Chrome value is passed into this, and then let's scroll down and let's see for the second set of execution, you can see that it's edge. See, before test edge is passed and the second set is executed. So this is how you do the cross-browser testing, right? And this is how you can parameterize it in TestNG. So at the right test is an annotation which will let you execute the test. So for example, at the right before test is an annotation, uh, and the corresponding method will be executed before executing any of the tests within the test tag, right? And at the right after test is an if you annotate a method with at the right after test, that particular method will be executed after executing all of the tests within that particular test tag.